Welcome to the Knife Junkie podcast, your weekly dose of knife news and information about knives and knife collecting. Here's your host, Bob the Knife Junkie DeMarco.
Welcome to the Knife Junkie podcast. I'm your host, Bob DeMarco. On this edition of the show, I'm speaking with Rikki Hernandez, or CaptRikki. CaptRikki first came on my radar as the talented videographer and editor for a very popular YouTube EDC channel, and as the curator of his own Instagram page, which is just a continuous scroll of knife-related eye candy. Now with his own channel on YouTube, CaptRikki is spreading his wings and telling the story of knives his own way. We'll meet Rikki and find out all about his work and his new channel. But first, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and download the show to your favorite podcast app so you can listen on the go. Also, if you'd like to help support the show, you can join us right here on YouTube or on Patreon and become a gentleman junkie. Quickest way to do that is go to TheKnifeJunkie.com/Patreon or scan the QR code on your screen. And just a quick note, if you sign up for an entire year at once, you save 12%. All right, check us out on TheKnifeJunkie.com/Patreon. Again, that's TheKnifeJunkie.com/Patreon.
Why pay full price for gas and food? With the Upside app, you don't have to. Just open Upside, find nearby offers, and earn cash back when you buy gas or eat out. Pay like normal and get real money back in the app. No coupons, no hassle. Just easy savings on things you already buy. Download Upside today and start putting money back in your pocket. Learn more at TheKnifeJunkie.com/saveongas.
Hey, Rikki, welcome to the show.
Hey, man, thank you so much for having me. It is an honor.
Oh, the honor is mine, sir. The honor is mine. I want to talk all about your new channel and find out what your direction is going to be and where your interests lie there. But, we got a lot to learn about you first. Have you always been a knife guy? How did you get into this?
Oh, man, no, I haven't at all. So I started my career as a videographer first. So I got into cameras and then I kind of realized, all right, well, I don't know if I want to be a photographer or video guy. Video ended up catching my attention. And I found myself in the world of fitness. Just a really interesting world to be in. From fitness, I hopped around to filming for a music producer. And then I ended up filming for bodybuilders and wildlife. I did a little bit of everything. And as I got into more video stuff, a buddy that I was working with introduced me to Peter McKinnon, which is just another like really big video photo photographer. And I saw a video of his where he was talking about EDC. And I was like, what the heck is EDC? And sure enough, it was just like pretty photos of knives and stuff like that. And I'm like, man, I carry around like a Zippo and a pocket knife. Like I didn't realize that there was like photographers taking pretty photos of knives. Like product photography was never even on my radar at first. So as a guy who's been doing video at that point for like 4 years, I'm like, man, taking photos might be kind of nice. Like maybe like a little hobby and get away from like the video side of things. So I started up the CaptRikki account now, I don't know, maybe 6-7 years ago. And I was like, all right, well, I'll just take pretty photos of knives. And then I started following other people. And I'm like, oh, well, those are pretty knives too. Like who makes those? And down the rabbit hole I went. I learned about different makers and knife companies. And from that point on, I was just always really interested in the craft itself first. Like I was curious as to why did someone wake up in the morning and decide to make a knife in the first place? And that kind of just led me to where I am now, where I really enjoy telling stories about the people behind the tools, behind the brands. So I got into it in a really weird, non-conventional way. I mean, my dad gifted me the buck that he carried, the buck 110 that he had in his pocket many years ago. But the knife didn't really inspire me to create an account. It was more so just like through the lens of like photography that really brought me into it.
Well, for someone who covered so many different worlds and enthusiasts, it seems like you covered a lot of different enthusiast groups in your videographer. Where does how do knives add up?
It's interesting because I don't know if we approach it from the point of view of like me creating content, like in the bodybuilding world, for example, like I always had a subject, right? I was creating videos and trying to tell that person's story through my kind of creative lens. With knives, you can go two ways, right? Like you can do the knife review aspect of it, which is very much like spec forward. For me, I found a lot of joy in understanding why things were made the way that they were and why they were designed this way. And for me, it's almost like, yes, the knife is kind of like the topic of conversation, but I almost try to have it be, I want the topic of conversation to be the maker, and the knife is almost like last, right? It's almost like the reason this exists is because of that person first. So it's kind of similar in some ways, but different in others, especially because a lot of the stories that I tell I'm not there in the shop with like a maker. So I kind of have to do a bunch of research, which is why when you emailed, I was really honored, because I'm like, man, I've watched so many of your podcasts, and the reason that I've learned so much was because your platform, I mean, you've chatted with almost everyone. And in the time, for some makers, like the internet wasn't around. So there's some guys out. Awesome.
Well, okay, so it comes as no surprise to me that you would be interested in the makers and the stories behind the knives, because you're a creative person. You're immersed in the creative world. That's how you make your living. And I would imagine that is your temperament. The people don't go into that if that's not their thing. So, I mean, is it something about the creative process of making, designing a knife, or even having the gumption to do that in the first place and throw yourself behind that? Is that the interesting part?
Yeah, for me, it's more so, it's a lot of like, how did that particular maker's life story kind of like lead to them designing something, like for me, I've always viewed life as like, there's different things that happen and it kind of leads you to doing something else. And when it comes to knife making, that's what I find so interesting. I mean, some of the coolest stories are people who kind of stumbled upon it, right? Even like some people were jurors and then they saw a knife in a magazine. We're like, well, I want to try and make a knife too. So that's what I find so interesting. Because for me, in a way, like I can decide, okay, I want to make a pretty video on this, and I'll just go and make a pretty video. I want to I want to understand like that point of view from a knife maker's perspective too. What is it that inspires them? Why did they make the design choices that they made? Because for me, there's a lot of artistry in that too. Knives are of course tools at the end of the day, but decisions are made on aesthetics, on experiences that knife makers have had too. So that's really what like captivates me about it all, especially as a guy who's like using pocket knives to cut open boxes most of the time. I'm not hard using anything. I'm not going into the woods and like beating my stuff up, So for me, it's a lot of like aesthetic choices behind certain things that just catch my eye. And I'm like, what did that guy do to get to that point,
Whose story comes to mind? What stories do you like the best? Who are your favorites? In terms of story, we'll get to the knives and that in a minute, but
yeah,
in terms of the story,
man. So I mean, for me, one of the makers that I really gravitated to early on was like Lucas Burnley or Bob Terzula. For me, like I watched your interviews with Bob, and when the Mariner 2 from Tactile Knife Co. came out, I was able to interview him and talk about that knife. And his story about that design to me was so touching, because he designed the Mariner 2 as like this knife that was inspired by, I believe it was like his grandfather was like cutting rope on like tomato vines. And he was like, well, he wanted something that didn't have a sharp point to it. And it was supposed to be like the knife for like oh, I always forget, like essentially people on boats, and they just didn't need sharp knives. Yeah. So that to me was super cool. And someone like Lucas Burnley, like chatting with him, he is such a like intellectual mind, and him going with that like neo-Japanese design. I'm like, what is it about that caught your attention? So those two are some that come off the top of my head. But man, I've had the pleasure of just like sharing so many recently. Shane Magnuson from Scorpion 6. I mean, his shop runs on solar. and here's this guy who is a war veteran and he's gone through so much in life, and knife making for him was a way to beat a lot of different obstacles that he was going through in life. And now he makes these beautiful custom knives. So those are a few that kind of come off the top of my head, but that's the stuff that I like to nerd out on stuff like that.
Yeah, and I mean, we all have. Well, first of all, like I said, you're a creative individual, so there's that to relate to. But we all have, our struggles and our victories and stuff. And when you can see that, or talk to a knife maker and see how that is kind of made manifest in their knives, especially talking to knife makers, I've noticed a lot of Marines, but also just a lot of former service members. And I know that for a good many of them, the process of making was pivotal to them kind of reestablishing themselves here after combat. And you can kind of really feel the heart and soul in that kind of a knife.
Absolutely. And it's an interesting time right now, even in just like my knife collecting. I've gone from somebody who was trying to discover like my own tastes and styles and pocket knives. So I did what many people do. They went out and bought a bunch of like production knives. And as of this last year, I really started diving into customs because, like you said, there's just like a certain soul to them, knowing that there's a guy in a shop whose blood, sweat, and tears went into this thing, years of success and failure. There's something really special about owning that, and also just being able to purchase something like that and knowing that it's supporting their love for the craft and all their hard work is also super special.
I've noticed in your work recently, you've gotten more into fixed blades, and for me, well, I guess I've always been into fixed blades, but for me, that was my entree into custom knives. I have like 2 custom folders, and I have very little interest in custom folders, honestly. I like protects and I like fancy pants, production knives, but I don't need to go much further. I love custom fixed blades, and especially ones that I can carry. I've noticed in your collection a lot of that. Especially Winkler recently.
Yes.
Well, we're here. Tell me about what you like about Winkler knives and your love of them.
It was so when I first decided, like, okay, I'm gonna give this like YouTube EDC thing a shot. Let me figure out what I can do. I was still very much a newbie. I had no idea about different steels and heat treat and handle materials. Like, I was still very much learning about stuff. And I don't know what really prompted me to make a Instagram story 4 years ago. And I was like, hey guys, like, if I'm kind of curious about fixed blades, like what should I check out? And a buddy of mine who's become pretty much a mentor was like, hey man, if you're going to get your first fixed blade, get yourself a Winkler. And I was like, all right, cool. So I went, looked up Winkler, and I was like, hey, cool. That's like $300, man. It's like, that's a pretty damn expensive fixed blade. And he was like, nah, dude, like, it's totally worth the price point, man. Get it. Like, Winkler has a really rich history. He's done some really incredible stuff. Like, aesthetically, they're beautiful, and they're just hardworking knives. Like, get into it. So I bought that SD1, and when I started my channel, my thought process was, okay, well, I still don't know a lot about knives. So like, I don't feel confident talking about specs of all of this stuff. Like, what else could I get into? And I was like, let me just research this guy. Like, what has Winkler done that my buddy was so impressed about? And then I learned about his obsession with like the 17 and 1800 fixed blades and like making historically accurate stuff. And then that led to Last of the Mohicans. And I mean, his stuff is in movies and books. And I was like, okay, cool. I can really talk about this stuff. Like, I nerd out on all that. So that was my first ever like video doing a historical deep dive on a knife maker. And it's funny watching that video now because it really did shape what I do now for content on YouTube. It's really just about, this is the guy you're supporting. This is why he did what he did. And when you buy a knife, now you know the story. Because I think right now too, in a world full of so many folders and so many fixed blades, like, to me, there's something special knowing who you're buying that product from. You know, who are you supporting at the end of the day? So yeah, Winkler was something that kind of shaped the kind of content that I do now.
Oh, one of the custom folders I noticed you have is an absolutely stunning attention to detail mercantile with tortoise shell.
Yes.
One of my very few custom folders is, I think it was his very first with inlays. I mean, way back. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's not like it's now in terms of how they're built, but I saw that and I was like, that's a deep cut. That is such a sweet knife. He's such a mensch.
Yeah, that's the funny enough, like that was one of the podcast interviews that I saw. I was like, man, so Doug, I have a really funny connection and story with Doug. Again, once I kicked up the YouTube channel, and this was a few years after that Winkler video, then I was like, okay, well, maybe now that I know a little more about knives, let me do some like specs driven stuff on these pocket knives. And I did one on an attention to detail. I can't even remember the name of it now, like a medium Mark II or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
And it was $750. First time I've ever handled a knife that was that expensive at the time. And I made this video and I was like, yeah, I don't know. Like it's a hard use knife, but like $750 is just kind of expensive. And I posted that YouTube video. I posted a photo and then I get a DM from Attention to Detail on Instagram. And he's like, hey man, this is Doug. You mind shooting me your phone number? I got to give you a call. And I'm like, oh snap, I pissed him off. Like he was about to call and shoot my head off. And I got on the call with Doug and he was just like, hey man, I enjoyed your video. I just want to like kind of teach you a little bit why as to why my knives are priced the way that they are. And that conversation meant a ton. And at that point, like we had chatted a little bit at Blade Show Atlanta, we met up and now every time I see Doug or we meet up at a show, it's just like kind of seeing a friend. You know, I've had the pleasure of doing the video on that prototype Mark Medium 3 now, the one with the tortoise shell, and it's just been cool. And it's just funny how the world kind of, it goes like full circle in a way. But I met Doug at Blade Atlanta the first time and I was like, yeah, this guy's going to kick my ass. Like I said something last night.
No, I mean, he could do it 1,000 different ways.
100%.
So I am curious how you got involved with BestDamnEDC and with because okay, you described as a videographer, and I also work in that world, but so it's interesting to me that part in particular. Working as a videographer in all these different fields, and then going to EDC, like how all those other fields. Please don't take this the wrong way, and no one listening take this the wrong way, but all those other fields seem legitimate. Whereas in lighters, what are you doing? What was it like making that transition, and what convinced you that was a good move?
It was just one of those like stages of life thing. At that point, I had kind of hopped around a ton, and what I was doing, it's kind of a pretty funny story. Before EDC, I was doing wildlife. And I was doing wildlife filming for Doc Andel of the Myrtle Beach Safari. He was on Tiger King. And I met that guy. It was just a really strange of events that led me to meet Doc Andel. He offered me a job. I moved from Florida to South Carolina. And at the time, I was still very much dabbling with like my EDC Instagram account. Well, at that point, things were kind of going south for me at the safari. And I was like kind of just hunting around to see what else I could do. I was invited to a Blade Show, Texas. And there's where I met Ben Peterson and Joseph Vero in person. Joseph Vero was one of the first EDC brands to kind of like offer me a gig. He was like, hey man, if you go to Atlanta, let's film a video. I'll pay you for it. Then Ben Peterson reached out and he offered me a gig too. And I'm like, okay, well, like, here's an opportunity. Like I can use my skill set to help out some of my friends and help out other brands. I was like, great. At Blade Show Atlanta, I met Taylor and I was like, hey dude, big fan of your work. Like it's because of you that I've learned quite a lot. And I shot my shot. I was like, if you ever need a video guy, like an editor, I live in Myrtle Beach and I'm not too far from you. Just kind of let me know. And he was like, yeah, man, I already got someone, like, I'll keep you posted. And a few months later, he reached out. He was like, hey, if you're still interested in that editing gig, like, I'd love to maybe kind of test the waters. And we hit it off, and it was great. And to me, I was like, awesome, because like I'm so ready to get out of the wildlife world. um, yeah, so I jumped into EDC just because I had the very lucky opportunity to work with some guys and kind of build up my catalog, my resume in a way. And working with Taylor, pretty much just like, well, just rocket launched that too, which has been a blessing, of course. So yeah, that's how I got into EDC. It was kind of just like random bits and pieces and random events.
So you had like an amazing finishing school, basically. You didn't launch your own EDC channel. I've only met him once or twice, and he seems like a super nice guy. I love his take on things. So, but what a great mentorship, or a great way for you. So, what did you learn working with him the most? Did you learn most about how to have this kind of a channel, or was it more about the gear?
It was definitely more about how to have a successful YouTube channel, and a lot of life stuff too from Taylor. It's truly been insane to be able to do this now and kind of reflect on us working together and being like, yep, I remember when this happened. I remember when this was going on to Taylor. As somebody who's always worked under somebody or for someone, I've never really had like my own thing. I'm just a big believer in like wanting to do stuff with friends and wanting to grow something together. And that's why I really loved working with Taylor and working with someone who's kind of at that level. You learn a ton from like the business point of view too. How to run the channel, how to make sure that you have sources of income to kind of continue to do what you do, how to not let YouTube comment, haters ruin your day. Like every little thing has been super important to my journey now. And as I'm kind of just growing and trying to work with other people and learn that aspect of it, his approach to just always making sure that he had really strong bonds with the people that he worked with is something that is instilled in me 100%. Just because at the end of the day, like, we're a pretty small community, right? And I feel like we got to take care of each other. We got to look out for each other and make sure that we can all kind of make it to the top of the mountain. So yeah, I mean, he taught me a lot about gear. I went camping for the first time with Taylor. I had never gone camping before. So he taught me like a little of the ins and outs of camping and a little bit more about like design as he started designing his own knife. I kind of picked up on little things too. So yeah, man, it was a really well-rounded experience. And his point of view, not only on EDC and YouTube, it's just really fun to be around. He's a dude's dude, and when you meet him in person, that's the kind of energy that he gives out. So yeah, it was a ton of fun, and I did learn a whole lot from him.
So with your own channel and getting to getting to curate exactly what you cover, how do you do that? How do you decide the editorial direction in terms of what products you're actually showing and representing?
Yeah, I think for me, it's very much about wanting to get to know people first. Usually, whenever something catches my eye, I really, number one, I try to do my research a little bit more about the maker and who's behind the project. But I also like reaching out to people directly and just kind of hearing it from them. So a lot of my approach is, what's something that I've already handled before? Maybe there's a new iteration that I can kind of go back and touch on. Or if there's something brand new, I would want to reach out to the maker himself and just kind of hear it from him. Like, what inspired you to make this? Why did you think that this was something cool for X, Y, and Z? That's kind of how I approach it now. I've kind of diversified it where I love my sit-down storytelling videos, but with YouTube being the platform that it is now and having YouTube Shorts is kind of where I'm just like, hey, here's a knife, here's the little unboxing, 3, 4, 5 things about it, and then boom, we move on. But a lot of the long form content, I base it around, is there something that captivated me first? If there's not something that captivated me and I'm not excited to make the video, I just don't touch it yet. Just because I'm a big believer that you just feel that energy, you know, and that's going back to your work too, Bob. Like when you talk to a lot of these makers and you have these conversations, that you can see that you're like actively listening and genuinely curious. So you know exactly like what that is. And for me, I really drive that point home. If it's not something that I'm super stoked about, I don't pretend to talk about it.
So this is something that I've struggled with on and off over the years, is just not in terms of this show, but in terms of the videos I make for my YouTube channel and the kind of knives I for me, it's just, what do I like? What do I find cool? And, you know, I've had some companies send knives. Would you take a look at this? And I'm like, yes, but I'll do an honest review and all that. But I guess what I'm asking is, do you feel the need, and you know, you're answering this, but like some channels are there to inform you of everything that's out, everything that's new, you're talking about those specs driven. And for a while, I thought that was also almost a responsibility. But for me, that's not what I'm around for, you know?
Dude, that's and I almost kind of want to flip the question to you, because man, I can't remember what I was watching, but I saw a comment that was something along those lines. Like, you as a reviewer are responsible for like providing us with the content that tells us everything. And man, and I've been pondering on that for like a whole couple, like maybe a few months now. Cause I'm like, is it my responsibility? Like, there's plenty of us, right? We all make very diverse content and we all have very diverse opinions. So like, why is it my responsibility to give you like the specs?
Yeah.
I think you're watching what we create because you find us entertaining and you value our opinion. If you don't, then you go watch someone else. All right. So yeah, that's an interesting thought process. How do you feel about it though? Like, what's your thoughts to somebody telling you that?
Well, I mean, no one has really said that in a long time. But my thought then was like, you know, kind of like, well, this is my channel and these are my videos and this is how I want to do it. Like, you don't have the internet. I know you do because you're watching me right now. Go to a knife center. Look at the specs. I mean, I don't know. I hate math.
Yep, I'm the same way. Like I said it when I did my video about going solo. I'm like, I'm not your specs guy. I'm really not. Like, I'm not hard using my knives. I cut through boxes and that's about everything I get. If you're interested in why this knife was made or how it was made, I'm maybe your guy. But there's plenty of other dudes who are covering that subject way more. In the Winkler video, one guy commented today, he's like, you didn't even talk about skinning with the knife, but I guess it could be good. I'm like, maybe. I was like, I don't know, dude. I don't skin animals. I don't use my. I'm pretty sure there's someone else who can cater to that content. But I'm like, you just saw this whole video where I told this story. Where do you think I was gonna go skin an animal with this knife? Dude,
I love it.
Man.
Yeah, it's like you got to be all things for all people all the time.
Yeah, and that's something that I try and talk about with other creators too. I think right now there's so many features, right? Like you have your YouTube Shorts and your Instagram Reels and your Instagram photos and stories, and everybody's telling you like how to grow your channel the best and fastest way. And I think it's just an overload. I think a mistake that I made early on was trying to be everything. I was trying to be the photo, the video guy, the audio guy, the editor, everything. And the problem that I ended up running into is that I was kind of half-assing a bunch of things. Like I was just okay at everything. And once I started dialing in my video and dialing in my storytelling, I really got in my lane. And I can accept that I may not be like the most awesome photographer, or I may not be the most awesome marketer or anything like that, but you build your audience on what feels authentic to you, and people will listen to that and respect to that. So that's my lane, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, maybe you could fake it if you were getting paid millions and millions of dollars, you know, to do something like that. But really it's, you can't afford to do anything but be authentic with this, because you'll be sniffed out right away and made irrelevant. But also, I mean, you'd be miserable. What the, like again, who in the world chooses to be an EDC guy, unless they absolutely love it. I'm curious about your process. How do you, first of all, where do the knives come from? You've got some beautiful knives. I mean, we're just poking down.
Man, a combination of two things. If I'm a big proponent of, if I see something and I want it, I buy it. I don't try to ask brands as much as I can. Nothing that I never have. I definitely have. But nowadays, I'd rather just go out and buy it myself. If the story's captivating, if something about it caught my attention, I go out and buy it. A majority of the stuff right now that I'm doing with the channel for story-driven stuff is either stuff that I get from a couple of the retailers that I work with. They send it along for me to make the stories, and then I ship it back. Most of the time I end up buying something because I'm like, it's already here, right?
Yeah. Nothing is back. What do I owe you?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, just send me an invoice, man. I'm keeping this one. And then other times I have the beautiful opportunity to work with brands. ProTech, I've been working a ton with ProTech this year, and they've been super cool on helping me be one of the first people to kind of tell the story of Sean Ashmore's design of the Escape Auto Compact. Yeah, so a combination of both. I buy, sometimes brands are generous and they send stuff along for me to keep. And then the two retailers I work for send stuff and then I ship it back.
Okay. All right. But it is based on, or what is most relevant is what is most interesting to you, not what is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, man. And it's funny. Like you look at my YouTube channel, really the newer stuff that I'm talking about there right now is really ProTech. I mean, Winkler has been around forever. So
yeah.
I made that Winkler video. I've made a couple of other random things like the Spyderco Starmate. I mean, that knife was reissued a few months ago. So a lot of it is kind of just what I find interesting. I'll be honest, like for me, it's kind of tough right now too, because in the production world, there's just so much that it's impossible to keep up. Like, Saviti's dropping knives every day. Kaiser, all these guys are just so many knives, and I'm like, I can't keep up.
You have to have ironclad relationships with them, or they're just sending it to you, and you're kind of a spokes.
Yeah. Yep. So I get picky. I get very, very picky about it. I don't want to cover everything. There's a lot of great dudes who already do. I just want to kind of get super nerdy and even more niched in the EDC realm.
There have been many times where I've been really excited because I've managed to find something that's discontinued, and I'm really excited, and I show it off, and people get all hot under the collar because they can't buy it, and I'm like, well, you can if you search. I mean, I found it, but that's not what this is about. I'm not featuring. You can't get these swords on the wall either. They're one of a kind. How can you show them off?
100%. And that's the thing. Like, I think you have to really find a way to like march at the beat of your own drum. You're not going to please everyone. Everyone's always going to be mad about something. The Starmate video, I'm in love with that knife. I think the history, the fact that Spyderco's first ever knife collaboration was Bob Terzula, to me was so cool, especially as a big fan of Bob's work. And people in the comment sections are like, Jesus Christ, $300 for G10 and CPM 20 CV. And I was like, yeah, man, that's not the story I'm telling. We're here to talk about Bob and Spyderco. We're not here to discuss what this knife is worth and what it isn't worth at this point.
I mean, that's a real low effort kind of sloppy argument. There are plenty of things I can't afford, but it's not like I'm like $250,000 for a Bentley. Well, my Chevette does exactly the same thing. It's like there are things than other things, and there are some things,
Yeah, 100%. For me, it's also just the point of view of, you talk to a bunch of knife makers, you understand this too. Like, we are not the ones pricing this stuff, right? We are not the ones in their shop making these knives. We're not buying the products to make these knives. You also have to take into account their own time and effort. Like, they're employees of their own business. Like, they are working. What is their time worth? You know, I always talk about it from the point of view of me as a videographer. Like, you are paying for my set of skills. My set of skills took me 10 years to get to where I am now. So you're paying for all 10 of those years.
Yep, absolutely.
You know, and a knife maker, like, sure, they're pricing a knife at $350. Okay. What do they value their time at? You have to take that into consideration too. Especially when it comes to like a USA made custom fixed blade, right? Like, come on now, they're doing way more work to make this thing than anyone else is.
And it's exclusive. And when you're a collector, that's something you aim for, you know, like this is, you know, you should want that when you buy a painting, you know, you don't want to buy a cheap, you know, Picasso. You want to buy a good Picasso, so to speak. So
right.
My point is, when you're buying a custom knife or when you're buying a really fine knife and you're seeing a high price tag, it's for a reason. And, you know, things come at a cost. It doesn't mean it doesn't cut as well as a $15, you know, Kershaw, but that is not the point. And people know it. They just pretend they don't.
Yeah, exactly. And those are the conversations I normally try not to interact with. I'm here for, if you want to discuss, you know, the artistry of a maker versus another one, I'm here for it. But I'm not going to argue about price points.
So let's talk about that artistry. Who are your favorite? Who are your favorites? Let's just talk about design.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, that is a tough question. You know, I've been kind of going through. I've been trying to think of a way to explain this video that I have in my mind, because CRK, like Chris Reeve, right? The Sebenza was like one of the very first expensive knives that I bought, and for me, the Sebenza design language is just iconic. It's beautiful. It's simple. Like, it is just like the knife. And I've been having an interesting time trying to come up with this concept, because I've owned so many Sebenzas. And every time I buy one, I love it. I talk about the nostalgic feeling of it, and then I sell it. And then months later, I buy another one. And it's just like this round and round of CRK Sebenza. So for me, the Sebenza is definitely like one of those designs that I'll always hold near and dear to my heart, because it was just the most expensive knife I bought, and there was something about it that's classic. I'm a big fan of, like I said, Bob Chizula, Lucas Burnley. What else have I gotten into recently? Recently, I picked up a Hinderer Eclipse, which is another kind of important knife in my history, because the Hinderer story is something that I dove into kind of early on. So that one's pretty interesting to me too. But as I'm diving into the custom world, I'm finding myself checking out a little bit of everything. Like right now, I kind of have my eye set on like a Kinnison. The guys from Tech, yeah, man, they make some beautiful stuff, and
they're one of a one too. He really labors over the combinations of materials and the looks and their stuff is cool. Even their production stuff, like they have one with Civivi. I think it's called the Blue.
Yeah.
They're all named after dogs, but even that is beautiful. His stuff is.
Yes. Oh yeah, man. I had messaged my buddy Bob, because I've been trying to make it a little bit of a tradition where every Blade Show Texas, if I have the funds for it, buy myself just a really nice custom. Because I'm not going to Blade shows anymore trying to buy a bunch of stuff. I'd rather just get one really, really nice thing. And last year I bought a knife from Dylan over at Hypercut Manufacturing, who's another really great guy. And this year I was like, yeah, man, I think I'm going to go Kinnison. Like, there was one that I had my heart set on, but we'll see.
Because aren't they always lotteries? Aren't the Kinnison blades all?
I don't know. I mean, that I've seen that it might have been Blade West that they had some at the table, but at the time I wasn't financially ready to make a tough decision.
And then,
so
man,
we'll see. If they're all lotteries, then I'm out. I'm not a lottery guy. I normally just like to go buy what I like and then leave.
like go running back to your hotel room with. But wait, I have a quick question about the Sebenzas. You're talking about Chris Reeve knives, Sebenzas, and how you love it. It's iconic. It's beautiful, but you don't hold on to them. Did you never bond with a Sebenza?
So the longest one is actually the one that I have now, which is one with an elder burl inlay. And that's the one I held on to because to me, I really love the grain and just like look of elder burl. Each one of them are unique. But I mean, it's, I'm embarrassed to say it, but it's also just like the name of the game. Like if something comes up and I need the cash, I'm like, all right, well, something's leaving. Like I got to get it together. And Sebenzas are always good for trades or cash. Like there's someone always after a Sebenza.
Yeah.
So I end up just flipping it. And then I'm like, man, I kind of missed that knife. And then I'll buy it again.
It's like the
endless
Rolex Submariner of the knife world, you know? I need a ride out of country. Here, take my Sebenza.
Exactly, dude. So that's why I kind of keep going back and forth on it. And I told Tim, I was like, Tim, I really want to interview you and like make a video about this. And I told him the idea and he was like, well, it kind of sounds like a diss. And I'm like, well, I don't mean it like a diss though. Like I love the Sebenza. I think it's a great knife. But there's also just the aspect of like, you don't see a lot of like change with that design, right? Like the Sebenza has been iconic for so many years. And usually the only changes we see on that knife are aesthetically with like different inlays. So I really wanted to get down into the story of like, why is this knife like this for me? And also why have you guys ever thought about changing something? Or is it just a matter of like, this is that legacy knife that's going to stay the same forever? This is what that's
the 21 and then the 31, right? Sebenza 21 and 31. So they came out with the Sebenza and then 21 years later, they updated it. And then 10 years after that? I guess. Yeah. 31, 21.
Yeah. 31.
I have a 21. I recently carried it. I love it. And I don't ever need another one, though. I would love to have one with a burl wood and with the new inlay, with the big inlay. I have the older one with the double inlay.
That's the one I have too. Yep.
I love that knife. It feels so good in hand too. But I want to ask you, as someone who handles a lot of knives and has, for your channel and in the past for other people's channels, what are your favorite current trends and in the knife world, and what do you see having real lasting power?
That's an interesting one because like we said, like I handle a lot of stuff, but I'm usually not handling like a lot of the latest and greatest. I did a video with Blade HQ and I talked about how I feel like right now we're seeing a lot of pocket knives with like the integration of like a crossbar access lock style mechanism. And I'll be honest, like for me, I'm somebody who I really enjoy a nice access lock, but I just don't like, it has to be done right. And that's the thing that I kind of lean on when I'm talking about like trends in the EDC world. Like I'm all for trying out new things and seeing new steels and mechanisms on designs. But I think what ends up happening is like, it gets to the point where it's really good and cool and everybody wants to do it, but then not everybody's putting the same effort to like really dial it in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt you, man.
No. That's it. Like I love button locks. I think button locks are awesome, but then I've also handled some button locks and I'm like, well, this is kind of like mediocre. Like if you could do it, like
same thing there too. It's like how many do we have to have a proprietary variation on the button lock? It's pretty simple, guys. But yeah,
and honestly, that's kind of why I really like leaning into the world of fixed blades, right? There's only so many ways you can design a fixed blade. And a lot of the time for me, I kind of dive into just understanding what are like really cool and unique things that each maker is doing within the fixed blade world. But you really don't have much to worry about. Like you get yourself your really good steels, you find the maker that has like the right sizes and ergonomics for you, and like, boom, you're done. But with the folding world, it just seems like sometimes there's brands and companies that like try to like follow the trend, but they just don't nail it. And then to me, it kind of makes it feel like, well, then why would I want to buy that? Like it's not as great, So not to like dog on anyone, but I don't know. I think that's it. For me, I'm not checking out enough new things to like know the newest and latest, greatest mechanisms or steels.
Right. How do you carry them? Fixed blades I'm talking about, because I know, well, I mean, actually, since we were talking about trends, pocket carry fixed blades, that is a big trend. And just people blades in general, but it's because of the advent of easy pocket carry and all these different options. As a matter of fact, totally like what not only you right in front of me, I was by Nugent, the agent, and then a bunch of kydex that go in the pocket, all these different ways. It's like suddenly it's like, oh, like it's not scary to carry a fixed blade if it's in your pocket. If it's on your belt, it's like a weapon. But
it's funny. I got into fixed blades real heavy when I was working with Taylor. Taylor kind of he had gifted me my very first knives by Nuge. Actually, he gifted me a Wicked, and that kind of opened up the door to me actually having a collab with Tom. So Tom and I did a Captain's Edition version of the Wicked.
right.
Yep, and this one has a harpoon blade and ironwood scales with the brass pins. So
How do I get
it opened
that?
the door to. Oh, there's only 5 made, dude. But I know the guy who makes them. This was the first run.
I love it.
Yeah, this thing is awesome. But funny enough, look at my carry solution. I'm on the belt.
Yeah.
I genuinely started carrying a fixed blade in the pocket, but as somebody who handles a lot of knives and review knives, and you probably feel the same way too, like you end up putting, sometimes it happens, you just put a little too many things in your pocket. So I got to a point where I had like a folder in my back pocket, a fixed blade in the front, and then I had like some random thing in the other pocket. And I just got to the point now where I'm like, you know what, man, I'm gonna throw this thing on my belt. It keeps it out of my pockets. And now most of the time, like since I'm working from home, when I do go out, I don't feel the need to carry a bunch of stuff. So I'll just throw a fixed blade on the belt, a pen on my other pocket, and I'm out the door. So I've gone from pocket to belt just because I absolutely dislike having a fixed blade in my pocket now, especially something that's not even that big, like maybe 5-6 inches. It just kind of protrudes a little too much. So I've gone belt most of the time now.
Oh, nice. I've been carrying the Agent 001 in my pocket with this leather sheath, the same Badger Claw leather sheath.
Yeah.
In finding that this is perfect, you can just pull this out and just the corner of the leather sheath keeps the sheath in your pocket, kind of like a Pakal.
I think I lost you for a second.
No. Rosie. There we go.
All right, we're back. Yeah, TKL, by the way, big fan of Tim's work. He's such a cool dude, man. He makes some really awesome knives, and I love Badger Claw leathers or Badger Claw's leather sheaths. I love.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, Tim, when it comes to kydex sheath, Tim makes some of the best.
Oh yeah, he does, absolutely. And his knives and he's got a whole community of
TKLians, man. Yeah. Dude, it's so cool meeting them and hanging out with them. I did a video for Tim, pretty much just like kind of talking about my Tim Kell like fixed blade collection, and the amount of support that it just comments and support on that video was just insane. Like he's really developed a group of people, a family that just supports him, his wife, everything he does. It's beautiful to see, truly.
Yeah, I mean, we started this conversation talking about authenticity, and I think that's huge. They're very authentic and great people. And I think, on a wider scale, we're talking custom knives too. That's what draws a lot of people to custom knives. Me too. It's the getting to know people. And, this show, for instance, and what you do with, when you interview knife makers, it's, an hour of talking with someone is rare. It doesn't happen that often. And you really get to know someone and you want their knife all of a sudden. I would love to have like my collection goals, and I want to ask you yours. My collection goal, one of them would be to have one knife at least from everyone I've been. And,
yes.
I've I've gone, part of the way there, but
Yeah.
uh,
Dude, that'd be a crazy collection. That's so cool though.
sweet. There are some people, like a Wilburn forage knife, for instance, right off the top of my head. I'd love to have one of his things. I just don't have $5,000 kicking around for a Bowie knife that I'm not going to fight with,
Yeah. Oh, dude, 100%. Like, where do you draw the line? You know what I mean? And that's been the funny part about getting into custom knives, because at some points, like I bought a deadlock. That was like my grail for a very long time, was a Hawk Knives deadlock. And I've had the pleasure of doing some work with Gavin and interviewing him on it. And I was at Blade Show West, and I was like, all right, man, like I was working with Michael from Ox MFG, and Hawk Knives was like right next to us. So I was like there looking at it the whole time. And I went up to Gavin and I asked him, and he's like, yeah, man, I'll get you a good price on the deadlock. But even then I was like, I just spent $2,000 on a knife, man. I was like, what have I done? I came home and I was like, all right, fire sale. What? Oh, we got to start selling some stuff. I can't believe I just did that. But dude, I mean, I learned the story of it. And I was very much like, dude, that's awesome. Like, the story of the deadlock was, I think Kershaw asked them to build an OTF, and instead of the Hawks just making an OTF, they were like, hey, we're not only going to give you an OTF, we're going to give you one with no blade play. And by the time that they finished that model, Kershaw didn't want it no more. So boom, that's when the deadlock was born. And that, to me, I was like, I'm in. I want that. That's a cool story. Give me that knife.
That is. So how do you curate your own collection?
Right now, it's a lot of interesting stuff. I've gone through the process of kind of narrowing it into the stuff that I love the most. And as I'm kind of going through and trying to make more content on certain knife makers, I'll kind of reach out and figure out like, okay, what are some core models? So as of right now, it's really coming down to, who do I find really interesting? A lot of I'm kind of like 50-50 right now, I guess. A lot of my stuff is folders and just about as many fixed blades. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really spec out. I don't really go on specs all that often. Like, I'm not shopping for like Magna Cut or a particular blade steel 99% of the time. I'm really just kind of going with what looks cool. Like, this is something interesting that I'm working on, a little story. So this is from Big Idea Design, and this is their very first knife design collaboration with Ken Onion Jr., who's a really good friend. And to me, this is just really cool. Like, I love Kenny. He's a really great guy, a great knife designer. And for Big Idea Design to do a knife like this is awesome, because it's their first model that can run on bearings and washers. So again, as an EDC guy, like, I don't really need that like change of bearings or washers. I'll probably buy this and then throw bearings on it and call it a day. But to me, it's really cool that my buddy Kenny worked on it. It's a cool accomplishment for Big Idea Design. So like, cool, this is what I'm going to buy. So that's kind of how I curate everything now. It's mainly based on the person who makes it, and if I find it aesthetically pleasing.
That's cool. Okay, let's talk about that for a little sec, because I'm I find myself being apologetic at how, I'm a suburban dad living that lifestyle, and I have, this incredible collection of combat knives and tactical fighting knives and all this kind of stuff. And people are like, okay. So, you know what I'm getting at.
And it's interesting. I like to laugh at myself a lot. If there's an opportunity for me to poke fun at myself, I'll do it. And in me making fun of myself, I oftentimes end up making fun of people who think the same way. So I've done plenty of videos where I joke around about me not using my stuff. The other day I made a story because my wife bought some new furniture and I gifted her a little Nast Lander. And she used the hell out of that knife to open boxes, and it was all used up and full of tape. And I took a picture of it and I was like, damn, my wife uses her knives more than I do. And everybody like laughed and loved it. And I'm like, yeah, man, I make fun of myself because like at the end of the day, I'm not going to take myself too seriously. I know that I am a guy who sits in this office Monday through Friday. I barely go out. I really don't do much with my pocket knives unless I have to build something or cut down boxes. And a really fun example of what kind of embodies the way that I see the knife world is this collab that I did with Michael from MFG. This was for Blade Show West last year.
Beautiful.
Now, Michael is very much like in the tactical space. He creates knives that can be used for combat and stuff that's a little more discreet. And I saw this design and I'm like, dude, this is so cool. Like, I really like the blade shape on this. Like, it's super comfortable. I was like, how about we do a CaptRikki one? But instead of doing your tactical like wrap and stingray, let's get weird with it, man. So we put some like wooden scales, mammoth. We dyed this like blue a mammoth molar. There's like bits of micarta and G10. Like,
it's beautiful.
This thing is, if you just look at this, you're probably like, damn, dude, that's like aggressive as hell. But then you look here and you're like, wait, what the hell? That doesn't make any sense. Like, why do you have this crazy aggressive blade and then like wood and like mammoth molar? And that's just kind of how I feel about it. Like, I love pocket knives. I think they're super cool. I'm going to buy and carry whatever the hell I want. I have a big boy from Knives by Nuge. It's a 10-inch knife.
Oh, nice.
And I put that on my belt. I'm like, I don't care, dude. Like, I'll walk around my house with a 10-inch knife. Who cares? This is another perfect example. This is a Heretic Medusa.
Yeah.
Blade HQ exclusive, dude. And like, I saw this knife when I was at Blade HQ and I was like, man, I really want that. Why? Because it looks cool.
Yes.
And I think it's fun. Like,
Thank
why
you
not?
for saying so. I mean, that's why I asked the question in the first place. You mentioned how good stuff looks. And to me, or I'm sorry, what you said was that it's important how stuff looks, how aesthetically pleasing. Yeah. And it is to me too. And I know that it is to a lot of people, but you know, first it's got to be hardcore. It's got to like work. It's got to be like really a hardcore user. Then I can get to the aesthetically pleasing part, is I think what a lot of people would say. I'm the other way around. I'm like, it's got to look good.
Yeah. So chances are that this is maybe going to see a cupcake, you know? Yeah. Well, some days I might spread peanut butter with this knife. I mean, I don't have to get ultra. What really bothers me when it comes to the whole like hard use stuff, and you even see it in content creation too. I don't see a need to put people down or shame people for the way that they want to use their stuff. At the end of the day, it's their money. They're buying whatever knives they want. And who are we to tell someone how to use their pocket knives or use their tools? To me, it's almost like a weird infatuation. And I saw it a lot when I worked with Taylor. People are like, you own $500 knife. You don't even use it. And Taylor's often using stuff. He just doesn't feel the need to document it for the world, to be like, I use it. I look at me using my knife. I swear I do. Yeah. And like, even in content creation too, man, like some guys out there get on this crazy, weird high horse. And I won't name any names, but like this one dude like was dogging me about my videos where I unbox knives in a really stupid manner. I like cut into them and cut into boxes and stuff. Yeah. One guy was like, this is like the TikTok, you know, crap that people are posting now in the EDC world. It's ruining EDC content creation. I'm like, brother, go look at my interviews with like legendary knife makers, man. I tell stories. I do both. Like, why can't I have fun with my hobby and also be serious with it? The fact that you're a content creator hating on another guy who's in the same realm as you are, also having fun and making content, is just silly as hell. So it's weird. I don't know, the obsession with people just wanting to like tell you how to use your stuff.
So yeah. Case of people taking themselves too seriously.
100%. And it's just like, you enjoy what you want, man.
So Rikki, as we wrap here, I want you to tell me what you aim the future of your channel to be, and then let people know best way to catch up with you.
Yeah, the ultimate goal, I would love to just travel and visit more makers and really spend time there, document their process. Because right now I'm pretty much limited to just what I can find on the internet, the podcast interviews that you've done, Bob, and that stuff is super great. Like, I love sitting here and sharing those stories, but there's that extra level where I wish I could just travel, see the process, be able to have face-to-face conversations with them. Because I think that just everything and just kind of cements that whole experience. So that would be the goal. And as far as where you can find me, it's CaptRikki, CAPT.RIKKI on Instagram, and then CAPTRIKKI on YouTube. YouTube didn't allow me to put the dot. I don't know what they have against it, but they just didn't like it.
So ornery. Well, thank you so much, Rikki, coming on the show. It's been a real pleasure talking with you. I love your videos, and your photography is beautiful. So keep at it, man. I love what you're doing.
Thank you so much, dude. Thank you, man. It's been, like I said, an absolute honor. I think what you've done for the knife world, and had the opportunity to interview so many of these legendary guys who have ultimately changed the world of the pocket knife, has been awesome. So again, I used a lot of your stuff for my stories, and it's just an absolute honor to be here. Thank you.
Honor's mine. Thanks, Rikki.
Want to sell your custom knives online? With LaunchCart, you can easily create your own e-commerce store. No coding required. LaunchCart is designed for knife makers like you, with built-in tools to showcase your craftsmanship, manage orders, and grow your brand. It's fast, flexible, and even includes low-cost payment processing to help you keep more of your profits. Start your online knife store today at TheKnifeJunkie.com/launch and turn your passion into a business.
There he goes, ladies and gentlemen, Rikki Hernandez, or CaptRikki. Do yourself a favor, give him a follow on Instagram, and subscribe to him on YouTube. You will love what you see. Not only great content, but like I mentioned before, great knife-related eye candy. All right, that does it for this week. For Jim working his magic behind the switcher, I'm Bob DeMarco saying, until next time, don't take dull for an answer.
Thanks for listening to the Knife Junkie podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and review at reviewthepodcast.com. For show notes for today's episode, additional resources, and to listen to past episodes, visit our website, TheKnifeJunkie.com. You can also watch our latest videos on YouTube at TheKnifeJunkie.com/YouTube.